Well, welcome once again to Lillehammer, this time for the men's 15-kilometer classic pursuit. I'm David Goldstrom, together with Mike Dixon, and all ready to go on what I have to say is a very dank morning here in Lillehammer. Drizzle, snow, temperatures warm, and pretty difficult if you're a spectator to enjoy this today. But the athletes, they'll just put this all out of their minds. Well, Mike, there's the start list. You've been looking after the races for the first couple of days of this triple, and as you pointed out there, Andy Musgrave, a very decent race yesterday to be starting in the top 10 here.
Very much so. He's on form, come into this new season. All the British team doing very well at the early part of the season. 6th fastest yesterday for Muzzy, and today is the classic style, maybe not his strongest point, but he will be chasing, and he is the ultimate fighter there on the track. Yes, 3-day event, and of course first day sprint competitions, followed by yesterday the 15-kilometer free technique over the same course as they are running today.
Mike, the course here, it's a 15-kilometer journey, 3 kilometers round the 5-kilometer loop, and I always sort of think here that if you're not Norwegian, you've got an extra hill to climb, because these tracks are demanding. And it's noticeable how dominant the Norwegians are.
They certainly are, and historically on this at this time of the year when the World Cup comes to Lillehammer, they're very difficult to beat, as you'd expect, early season and at home, and with all these flags flying around them. Motivated, and what a team it is, the Norwegian team, men and women. The women's team, though, in all honesty, with Therese Johaug back, it's great to see her. There's Muzzy just to the right of our picture as well. Good to see him. Yeah, Therese Johaug back in the team, the Norwegian women, not quite as strong at the start of this season as they were last, but the men fighting and performing at the top end again.
So as they come out here, there are 82 on the start list from 21 countries. And Sjurota of Norway, who is actually a local man, Lillehammer, so he knows these tracks backwards and inside out. He's the man who'll lead off with a time advantage of literally a second over his Norwegian teammate from Trondheim, Didrik Tønseth, and then Emil Iversen, who is at this moment, I would say, Mike, you might differ, but seems to me to be the best all-rounder in terms of sprint and endurance.
Yeah, very much. Come into this season improved on last year. Tønseth, interesting, his comments on yesterday. It was the best ever he felt skating. In fact, his first podium in freestyle, so he's delighted with that. There's Iversen, as you said, David. He is a great all-rounder. I'm wondering, though, that silver medal in the sprint day one, he must be more fatigued than the rest as Rota gets underway.
So, Mike, we've joined a little bit late. We didn't really see the course profile for more than a blink of an eye. So, 5 kilometers, and it's busy all the way.
It is, and the first 5, David, you know, it's 5 is okay. The second 5 gets tough. The third 5 on this profile will really hurt these athletes, most of these athletes, on a 3-day stage event like today. And Dennis Spitzov, what a revelation he is. He showed his strength at the Olympics, of course, with his 2 silver medals last year. Sorry, 3rd in the team sprint and 3rd in the individuals. 2 bronze from last year. Sundby, he's got his work cut out. Normally he loves this event. He's won it a good number of times before, 4 times before, the mini tour in Lillehammer. But he's got a lot of chasing to do today. 43 seconds.
Indeed, what also stands out, particularly with a lot of these athletes going off early here, is they are great achievers. You've got Spitzov, well, as you said, he was a bronze medalist in the Olympic Games over 15 kilometers. That was freestyle, 4th in the skiathlon, so a strong Russian challenge. And then up there. Also, Melichenko of Russia got a personal best yesterday.
Yeah, that's absolutely. His previous best was 17th. There's Bolshinov, still wearing yellow, but unless he does something outstanding today, he may well lose it, quite likely to lose it. But he does like classic. Bolshinov is a good all-rounder.
Well, he, of course, was the Russian who stood head and shoulders out in Ruka at the beginning of the season, with 2 of his 4 career wins coming just a week or so ago.
Yes, his first win was at the end of last season, and then incredibly, the first 2 races, he took both of them. Look at Iversen already, David. This is a brutal part of the course to pull back 6 seconds, and his strategy clearly was get on their ski tails quickly and survive if I can.
So it is a pursuit race, and the Norwegians, well, they're very confident with Therese Johaug, as you said. Also, her comeback looking very strong and a bit ominous for her opposition.
Very much. The only weakness from Therese Johaug is her sprinting. She got a little better a couple of years ago before her ban, but just 33rd on the run-out on day 1.
Now, of course, Mike, as they go through the first 800 metres, the Norwegians are getting splits here on everyone that's behind them. There are 3 of them. Now, that's potentially a big advantage because they can work together and they can be tactical.
Yes, I do think the coaches may have had that conversation. We want a Norwegian victory. We want a Norwegian 1, 2, and 3. The biggest threat, I think, comes from Spitsov and Melnichenko. They are 2 Russians with a slight gap ahead of Sundby and Kruger, but looks like they're being closed down already.
Yeah, well, they're being closed down, but they haven't closed down on the front 3, which is interesting. Melichenko there, who started off with 37 seconds of deficit, so he's nibbled a bit. And Sundby, well, will he ever win that big Olympic or World Championship gold medal? I just wonder now. He's 34, which is not old by any means, Mike, but, you know, he's had silvers, he's had bronzes, but, you know, he's dominated the World Cup. He's been sidelined through anti-doping infringements. He's done everything. He's a world-class racer, but will he ever get the big prize?
It's strange, isn't it? We saw that last, well, in Pyeongchang once again with him. His form was good beforehand. Some people just tie up on the big day, I suppose, or with the expectations on his shoulders.
Let's talk a little bit about Andy Musgrave. 43 seconds off through the first 800 meters and started 48 seconds behind. But to be fair, his classic has improved terrifically, but he's still stronger over 15 kilometers freestyle.
Yes, 15 freestyle is his favorite. His results, his big results have come from there. Look at this. Iversen has decided the pace is too slow, and he's making a break, or at least trying to drag on the other 2 there. Shurota, Tunsev not quite going with it yet.
It's no intensifying, and it's soft.
Difficult conditions to wax for, because the track earlier was a little hard and some icing in places, but now it's very wet and slushy. Technicians will have it covered, but not an easy wax to get correct. I make it the fastest in this lead group, David, is Muzzy. He is down to 43 seconds. That's closed a little bit as well, with Dario Colonia just ahead of him. It's a great start for Musgrave.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's encouraging. I regard that as encouraging because that shows his commitment.
Yes, and he has to stay with this. If he wants a podium today, he has to stick with this group, with the expectations that maybe 1 or 2 will fade in this lead group.
So coming into this stadium, it is a 5-kilometer loop, but it's designed to give the spectators a real opportunity, and a good number of Norwegians have turned out on this dank Sunday morning to support what they hope will be 100% success. But the front 3, they're in an ideal position, really.
They are. That's a good cushion. When you've got a cushion of, well, at last check, it was 34 seconds back to Spitsov. It looks like it may have closed a little on that. That's a comfortable cushion, although only 2.2 kilometers completed from 15.
Andrew Musgrave, bib number 9, to help you spot him. And Sundby, 37 seconds going through there, and he started 43 seconds back. So working together, that second group, but they're nibbling rather than biting. And there's the man with the yellow bib, Bolshunov, the World Cup leader for Russia, all red, going through there with a deficit of pretty well a minute. And he was, what, a minute 19 off. So that's a decent piece of skiing in the first couple of kilometers.
That's a huge desire, once again, from Bolshunov to pull that kind of margin back quickly.
Niskanen, a minute 14 off. Of course, he, the Olympic 50-kilometer classic champion and the world champion over 15 kilometers in classic. So interesting to see what sort of form he can bring to this race.
Yes, Heikkinen, we expected quite a lot from him last weekend up in Ruka, back home for him, but his form didn't look great. Classic is his strength, but he may well, and you often find that first World Cup of the season on the back of a lot of hard training. Some athletes are a little subdued, but find their way in racing as the World Cups move on. Iversen, he went for that big break. David, they caught him up. Clearly it was too fast. Now this is the huge climb. 64-meter rise from this point to the top of the climb.
And Shirota there, supported by Salomon, the other two Norwegians on Fisher equipment, tucking in their second and third. And you already can see visibly that they are working together.
Yes, they are. They need to try and keep this momentum. 36 seconds lead at last time check. That's a good cushion, as I said earlier, but you would expect some strategies here in this chasing group to try and close that gap down, work together to close it down.
Nice rhythm on the near side there by Shirota. He doesn't win very often. He's only got a couple of World Cup successes, but he's a man who really measures his seasonal campaigns.
He does, and he's done so much over the years in terms of Norwegian relays, but as you say, from 128 World Cup starts, only 2 victories, and one of them was yesterday. His previous one was over 50-kilometer freestyle as well, and that was the big prestigious 50-kilometer in Holmenkollen, Oslo.
He'd really like to win this today because it is his local track, so that would be extra special. But here again, there's a really good picture there, Mike, of the different physiques and statures of 2 cross-country runners.
Well, Turnstedt leading it. He alluded to the fact yesterday that it was really handy being a lightweight. He really has seemed to have lost a lot of weight. He's a lightweight athlete in his mind now, and he said that's a big advantage on these climbs. And there it speaks for itself. Iversen was with them. He's much heavier athlete, muscle. He seems to be slipping a bit, but they're losing him, getting rid of him on this climb.
But what they will have worked out with the aid of their coaches as they go around the track is whether they're going fast enough. And look at Iversen. He looks as if he's been blown out like a candle. I mean, has he got real ski problems there?
He has. He doesn't seem to have any grip, or it seems to be... Often when you get this kind of weather, it can ice up actually on the base. It seems like he might have some kind of icing, and within 200 meters he's lost 11 seconds.
Yeah, because his stride now has just gone very short and, you know, choppy.
But like a hunting pack, they will see that Iversen has got problems, and that'll give each of these athletes a little more impetus.
5 going through, Melenichenko in the red suit there. Now at 2.2 kilometers. The situation was the gap was down to 36 seconds. Apologies if you just lost pictures there. Not sure what's happening, but we've got similar problems. I think it's that radio camera that's let us down, and there's a gap until we pick up the next camera. So apologies for that.
Well,
I can tell you at 3.3 kilometers, Andy Musgrove in 7th place, 44 seconds, so holding his own. Well, apologies for that picture loss, but we're back and alive now. Didrik Turnstedt, Shirota, the 2 Norwegians, and they've left Iversen, who must be thinking, Mike, whether it's worth continuing.
He must be. Iversen will hopefully see him soon, but the body language was saying a lot. Was it fatigue? I'm not sure. It's definitely an issue with his wax. It's not working well. it's either icing up or not giving him much grip on the climb. But certainly struggling right now, Iversen in third place.
Now, the chasing posse will just leave Iversen to one side because he is going to be eclipsed, that's for sure. Dario Colonna leading the charge, 42 seconds at 3.3 kilometers. And then Simon Kruger, 43 seconds. He's in that group with Sunby and Musgrave and Spitsov. They're all together within a couple of seconds. Melnichenko just behind, so Alex Harvey and Victor Thorne. 44 to 50 seconds, the deficit. But the reason why these two have pressed on is as soon as they realized that Iversen was in trouble, they didn't hang about.
They didn't even attempt to give him assistance. In fact, he was at the back. They maybe didn't know they lost him so quickly on the huge climb. Iversen, body language says so much in racing. I think it is icing because he's just managing to run on his skis. They're not gliding that well in terms of the classic stride.
Interestingly, further down the field, there's Bolshunov running with Klæbo and Niskanen. They're all three running together about 53 seconds off the pace. But that puts them 40-odd seconds behind the likes of Colonna. In fact, sorry, I beg your pardon, 10 seconds behind
10
Colonna.
seconds, and likely to absorb with that momentum. And Bolshunov is a very good classic skier. He showed that last weekend in Ruka. So yes, you're right, there's the chasing pack, which is just getting bigger and bigger.
And there's poor Iversen, nothing he can do, and he must be feeling wretched, having finished second in the sprint and 7th yesterday in the 15-kilometer free, lying third in the overall rankings, having started the season so well. But what do you do? What can he do? He can just keep pressing on. 18 up there, that's Kalle Halvarsson in the white for Sweden, just leading that huge group.
It is an absolute huge group now. There's Larkov there as well at the back of the group.
And they have lost time. They've lost 3-4 seconds to the front two. So when the front two pushed on, they pushed on to the effect of saying, right, we're going to maintain that advantage.
This chasing pack, they've got a lot of questions to ask, and at the moment, not one of them is really wanting to take that chasing pace. They know they're going to commit themselves fully to that, to trying to hunt down the first two. Iversen they'll absorb soon.
Absolutely crucial, though, Mike. I think that they really make their move in this second rotation. You wouldn't want to leave it to the third one, because I'm assuming these guys up front here, Shirota, just behind Didrik Turnstedt there, they know what this game is all about, and Iversen about to be eaten up by the posse. Kalle Halvarsson there in the white, still leading that group. Muzzy in there as well, and just at the back, that looked like Hans-Christer Holland at the back, just checking 13. That's Larkov of Russia, who is the back man. Just in front of him, bib 11, Hans-Christer Holland. And the yellow bib in there, Bolshunov. And you can see Bolshunov has made progress. Now, is he making progress, of course, with Klæbo and Niskanen? That's the key thing. Niskanen, who wears bib number 23, and Klæbo, who wears bib number 14.
Now, you hear the coach there just shouting, telling them how far the chasing pack is. That'll give them Turnstedt at the front momentum. He realizes that they're not closing the gap, so, and it's because they're going tactical. They're not hunting it down at the moment, but that's given Turnstedt a little bit of a boost.
Yeah, Turnstedt, who last year, early in the season, was runner-up in Ruka over a 15-kilometer classic race, so he's always been there or thereabouts. And that's the situation at 5,000 meters. So Musgrave went through in 5th place, by the way, yesterday, and he finishing a very decent 6th. And that was a good performance, considering the sprint was never going to be his cup of tea. He was outside the top 40.
Yes, and Muzzy is becoming like a regular top 10 when it comes to 15 freestyle. Of course, he's set the 2nd fastest time and the 3rd fastest time in pursuit. So it wasn't out-and-out World Cup podium victories, but 2nd and 3rd fastest he's set in pursuit competitions. In Quebec City and in Toblach in Italy, both in 2017. So Halvarsson deciding that the pace was a little slow. They still haven't racked it up all the way yet. They've still got more to give in the chasing pack.
Yeah, they've just sped up a little bit, but we're only talking a couple of seconds. That's not enough. They've really got to, but he's been working his way through Bolshanov. Little slip there, but powerful man.
Very powerful. Must have been asking himself some questions the last couple of days, having come off the back of his 2 victories in Ruka last weekend. His sprinting didn't go so well.
Classic race, of course, Mike, so you'll be keeping an eagle eye on the corners for no skating.
I have been, actually. The jury been briefed to go firm, not allowing any advantage in skating too far around the bend. The snow, David, is becoming drier. The snowflakes are drier. That's bad news for those who have a clister that isn't covered well. And it can ball up, like we saw with Iversen. It can ball up under the base of the ski. Ice up.
So these two, Shirota doing a bit of the work now. He's got the hat, and Didrik Turnsteth wishes he had one.
Some have been throwing them off. It's that sleety, horrible day. In fact, Muzzy there with no gloves on, we'll see him later, can become quite cold in the hands when it's all damp and wet like this.
I'll tell you, the whole of this Lillehammer weekend has been generally unpleasant. But there, Shirota. Nice rhythm, nice pace, and you know, he's going to be absolutely focused. He's not going to want Didrik Turnsteth to win that. He would be really upset. Kalle Halvarsen, but look at that, Bolshunov now effectively in 4th place. And Klæbo, let's talk a little bit about him, the outstanding athlete of last season, just about everywhere. 14 victories so far in his relatively short career, including, of course, the sprint gold medal at Pyeongchang. Your assessment of him so far this season?
Yes, he looked so good in race number 1, the sprint competition. 8 meters to go, he backed off while he was leading. Bolshanov came through on his right-hand side. It affected his mindset. He was so angry. And then the day afterwards, it didn't go well in the classic competition as well as he'd hoped, down in 14th place. And then in the sprints here, he was leading into the stadium, sadly, and his ski pole broke. So he's had a couple of moments of bad luck, but he seems to have got his act together today. Luck is with him again.
Now, going through at 5.8 kilometers, the gap back to Kalle Halvarsen leading the chase was 46.6 seconds. So we're going to time check on that now. But they really need to start to become a heck of a lot more aggressive. And Dario Colonia in there as well as they come through this Durchgang. There's a heck of a lot of them there. There's a lot of people who could do some work. Simon Kruger is well to the fore there, the Olympic skiathlon champion.
Well, they're not closing. The door is extending further, just by a small margin.
And I think this is the determination of Rutte as much as anything else. Up there, really wants to win this. He's probably thinking, and Turnsteth as well, that they've never had a better chance.
Very much. Both of them out front by 51, just under half distance.
And of course, this is the culmination, Mike, of the triple. So there's bonus points to come here as well, because they've been getting half points, haven't they?
They have been getting half points, and of course the fastest skier today may not be one of the front ones, but they'll get the 50 World Cup points for setting the fastest time. And of course 200 points at the end of this 3-day tour, which the winner will pick up, as well as a decent sum of money, 22,000 Swiss francs.
On the left of the picture, that's Simon Kruger wearing bib number 7, 6 there. That's the familiar bearded Sundby going through there. Bolshanov just rattled back there. Klæbo, mid-division of that chasing pack. And of course, they're working their way back, the leaders now, to the stadium to complete 2/3 of the distance.
Do you know,
I just think that the chasing pack have just not done enough.
And yes, I was just going to allude, I think that they'll feel like all their Christmases have landed today, because that gap is now huge at 51 seconds. And they don't seem stressed out the front here. There's a little bit of lead sharing.
Going to be a heck of a race for third.
It is, but you never know. I mean, it's been some 2 or 3 minutes since this track was skied on. A lot of this slushy snow landed, so the track may be a little slower here for Turnsteth and Rutte.
but these two are working together really well, and I'm not sure when it comes down to it. Oh, well, Rota, that's not the first time that he's herringboned to just hold the grip, and it's a long gap. The camera foreshortens here, just the gap between the front two and the rest.
Good to see Muzzy there at the sharp end of the chasing pack. He's looking good, he's looking confident, looking comfortable. The momentum has gone from this chase, David.
Well, I just hope that Muzzy's got a little bit of petrol in the tank for the last 5 kilometers, because, you know, his confidence, he should be feeling good. No gloves, but nonetheless should be feeling good. Turnseth leading here from Shirota. At the moment, Mike, Turnseth perhaps looking the more confident.
Seems that way, and the advantage on the climb, with his lighter body weight, the amount that he's lost coming into this racing season, he's got to be feeling good on this climb.
Shirota, shorter, stockier, but with an excellent engine. And this takes some real strength, doesn't it, Mike? I mean, classic skiing over 15 kilometers, let alone 50 kilometers in this particular discipline, it really takes it out of you.
Yes, and if they had the pulse watches on, David, they'd be at 90 to 93% of their absolute maximum at the coming up this rise here, which is a brutal, very difficult to hold that kind of intensity for long periods, but their technique is carrying them with huge speed, so they've got the technique aspect down to a T as well.
So, Mike, they've gone out, they've established in the first 5 kilometers their rhythm, they've understood the advantage they've got, they've worked hard to keep that. In fact, they've increased it in the second rotation. Physically now, the leaders and the chasers, but particularly the leaders, how are they going to be feeling physically at this moment?
Physically, it's like an overall burn-up of all your muscles, especially at the top of the climb. You'll get recovery. And I think they'll be going through a little bit of fear in their mind as well, should anything go wrong up the front, to be hunted down by the pack. So there's pressure on those front two as well.
Jonsrud making a bit of a move here. Remember, the gap had opened up to 51 seconds. So Jonsrud certainly aware of the fact that they're just not going fast enough.
Great to close in, see Muzzy's technique. I feel that his technique, I know he's worked a lot in his classic technique this summer. It's certainly looking for me more efficient, more easy. Little slip there, but that's the steepness of the hill.
And look at Victor Thorn, who's moved up there as well. We haven't really mentioned him too much, but here's an athlete, only 22 years of age, who 17th in the sprint, 12th in the freestyle race yesterday. That's a good 2 efforts. Mike Dixon alongside myself, David Goldstrom, here as we approach the 2/3 distance. The leading two, Shirota in the hat, Didrik Turtseth just behind, and 10 kilometers almost completed. But Mike, they leaked more time, even though Sundby went up there to try and inject some pace from 51 seconds a couple of kilometers ago. The gap now 63 seconds to Sundby, Victor Thorn, Muzzy in there, 64 seconds back, but looking okay.
Looking very good, and I think that gap opened, David, because Turnseth on the right of picture, he decided on the brutal 3-minute climb to up the pace once again. I'm pleased to see Shirota leading again. I thought he was fading. He definitely was at the top of the huge rise.
Well, I think this is where local knowledge really comes in. You know, he's skied this a million times and more. And, well, I'm not saying that Turnseth is a stranger to the Birkebeiner, but he comes from Trondheim. But certainly this is, you know, sort of a workplace. This is an office for the likes of Shirota.
Yeah, he knows the feeling on every single climb. He knows how to take the corners. Home advantage plays its part. But for me, I've just got a feeling that Turnseth, especially next time up the climb, that's where the race can be won. And I think Turnseth will have the advantage on the major climb. He still has to survive the final part of the race, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, Mike, as they come through with 5 kilometers to go, pain is very much part of the game.
Real discomfort. Oh, Shirota's got rid of his hat as well at these warm temperatures. pain. It is about coping with real discomfort and nurturing your body through that painful place.
Well, there's 10 men in picture there and more behind. This is a huge third group that's there, and it's going to be fascinating, because somebody or one or two out of these have got to be ready to attack. Now, you want to be right up there. You do not want to be at the back of this, like Denis Spitsov finds himself at this particular moment.
I'd expected more from Spitsov today. He's the lightest man in the pack. He's only weighs in at 66 kilos, but I don't think his wax is helping him much today. He seems to be struggling on the climb and on the glide.
So 10 kilometers, and I can tell you that Matti Häkkinen has actually pulled out. He's decided that he's not able to finish the race, so the Finn's not having an auspicious start. Just keep your eye out for bib number 9, Musgrave, because that's the man that we've got one eye on. And noticeable that Alex Harvey has put himself in a much more challenging position. Cologna's been pretty quiet as well, but that's characteristic of him.
It is. I think they all know that the only thing up for grabs is either fastest track time to get points, and Bolshanov looking good for that. And of course, the wonderful Glabo potentially up for that title as well.
Slightly worried about Muzzy. He's got shuttled back to the back of that pack by a couple of seconds. That's not the place to be, given, if you're right, Mike, and I'm sure you will be, that when they get to that steep climb, the attack's going to come, and you need to be, you know, near the front, not near the back.
You need to be ready to react. Traffic is a problem. There's 20 in that chasing group. It's a huge group of athletes.
So these two who've really had it to themselves after the Iverson's departure, not through his own fault, but just looks to be an equipment problem that happened to Iverson, that the preparation for the skis was not right for the day.
It seemed that way, and of course Iverson, he had 6 seconds to pull back. He pulled it up very quickly, and I think we did allude to the fact that might jump up and bite him later.
And Shirota's now decided to discard the hat, so somebody's getting a souvenir somewhere along the line. And up there, yet again, bib number 12. And having a look at this group there, just trying to see where Muzzy was. He's not right at the back. He's in there, but he's not right at the back.
Interesting body language.
Yeah, just on the inside coming around that turn.
He is indeed. He's there. Traffic ahead of him. 2 Russians, Shervotkin and Spitsov at the back. They do seem to have problems with their wax. You just have to try kind of nurture your way through the bad wax, try and make them the best of a bad deal.
I think it's fair to say, Mike, now for these two up front, it's a race for them to lose rather than for anybody else to win. And Bolshanov has come through now, the World Cup leader, and deciding that he's going to put himself in a prominent position to try and take advantage, to be there when it matters most. Right behind him, bib number 23, Ivo Niskanen, the world champion from Lahti. He'll be looking to defend that title in Seefeld. There's
Glabo, who did so well here last year. Problems there, well, just glasses thrown off. I thought there was an equipment problem. That was Backscheider, the Frenchman.
Back to the front two, little bit of cat and mouse. Now, who's going to make the move? The one thing that's for sure, Mike, is whoever makes the move first has got to make it decisively. Now, look at Shirota going up this hill. This is where he knows he's opened up by a metre or so, putting the pressure on. And here comes the pack. Now, they were 71 seconds back. They're now 75 seconds back. So...
Sorry, look at Bolshanov. He just can't get the forward glide. The skis are icing so much. We saw that with Shervotkin and Spitsov at the back. So last week the Russians had great skis. Not quite so good today.
Not easy waxing temperature, because it's we woke up to virtually 0. So Shirota hasn't got away. Tonseth is shadowing him. Tonseth Now, I remember him being second in Rooker last year. Has he had a victory in the World Cup, Johnson?
He's had a couple. Turnseth, I think he won here back in 2013-14 in the classic style. 2 times first, yeah.
So they've both got a couple of victories, so they're both bidding for their 3rd World Cup success.
Still feel Shirota looked like he'd been re-energized for the last 4 or 5 minutes, but I still feel that Turnseth has got the edge. He's still in 2nd place now, though.
Well, it's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, the thing is that there's mind over matter, there's willpower, there's desire. I'm sure they both want it, but maybe Shirota wants it just that little bit more because it is home snow. And, you know, it's lovely to win, but it's even better if your family and friends are out there winning you on and you can bring it home. Bolshanov now shuttled back there. He would be effectively in 6th, 7th place now.
Klæbo moved a long way forward. He was at the back of the group at 10.8 kilometers. He's now in, well, 2nd place in this group. Ready to pounce. Alex Harvey's
in
still
9th
in there.
place, but he's with, there's only a sort of second. He's only a second behind. It's just a question of track craft here and being in the right place at the right time. Because I'll tell you what, with that number of people, there could be some carnage happening when the power goes on.
Very much, but so coming through the stadium for the last time, the next time is the finish. But in between here and the finish line, there comes the huge climb. They all know it, and they're all saving, I think, a little something for that moment.
So 28 on the near side. That is Francesco De Fabiani. Now, the Italian in green there, I can remember him, and it was a surprise to some, but not to everyone, winning a 15-kilometer classic a few years ago in Lati. That was his announcement race. He's always been really good at this discipline over this distance.
It's strange. Some athletes have, like Ivo Niskanen, he's better when it comes to classic technique than he is to freestyle. And De Fabiani, absolutely, this is his strength.
Janos Brugger in that group leading the way, but now it's a little bit more single file as they come into the stadium. And here we'll get a check on the order. Meanwhile, I wish we'd stay with the stadium there for a moment, actually. Thank you, they must have heard me.
Look at the time, though. They're seeping seconds all the time.
It's not about time now. This is about winning 3rd step on the podium here.
It is. It's all about strategy, and 20 people will be trying to figure out, how can I become the 3rd person to cross the line?
Just trying to keep an eye on Muzzy in there. We don't get too many close-ups, which is a bit disappointing, but Fabiani certainly up there. Musgrave 14th place, 1:23. So he's, again, within, 2 seconds of the front of that pack. So skiing really well, but I'd love to see him get another top 10 finish. I mean, anything better than that would be great. But, I mean, if he finishes in the top 10 here, that's a really good follow-up to yesterday.
Yeah, very much. De Fabiani, it's actually running 28 seconds faster than the lead timer. So looks like De Fabiani has the fastest track time at the moment.
But these guys have the advantage. They've got the clear snow between them.
They'll be sucking in, David, as much oxygen as they can, and often they suck in 200 litres a minute, because coming around this bend, it's the 3-minute climb. And Turnseth, I think this is where he has to go if he wants to win this race.
Well, he's put himself in the attack position, so to speak. Shirota's got to stay with him, and he's got to disappoint him. This is what Shirota's got to do. He's got to really stick with him right on his ski tails. And even if he doesn't lead Shirota, if he just stays there right behind him, he will disappoint Turnseth.
Very much. The thing about these athletes is they train so much up the fjords, double poling, doing exactly this classic roller skiing. They know each other inside out very, very well, training alongside each other every day. They know their own strengths and weaknesses. But I think this is where Turnseth, and Shirota is aware of it. Maybe is the stronger up this climb, but he has to live with it.
Well, I think the clever thing to do is to do what he's doing now, which is you know, quite annoying sometimes for the racer in front to have somebody sort of sitting on your shoulder.
Look how close his tips are, Shirota's ski tips are to the tails. In fact, they knocked him, maybe accidentally, maybe just to let him know I'm here, I'm going to annoy you.
Well, this is fascinating because it's really difficult to pick between the two of them. I mean, the early season form, well, you look at it now, you know, Turnseth yesterday, second, but only by, he's only got a second advantage. Times yesterday in the 15 free between the two of these guys.
Yesterday it's only 6 seconds between them.
In
15 kilometers, the same distance.
In Shirota's favour.
In Shirota's favour. So very little. And he only pulled out, Shirota only pulled out actually back in the last 3 kilometers. He'd been in deficit and then went ahead of Turnseth.
That big Norwegian flag, it's going to be a double, we think, here. Well, Teresa Johaug earlier in the day, successful. Of course, Marit Bjørgen enjoying her retirement.
Has been here, though, supporting the team, trackside.
One man who isn't here, Petter Northug. I wonder what your thoughts are. Will he ever be the man he was?
He showed good. He came second, I think it was Gala, the sprint competition there. Beidestol in 15 kilometer, unfortunately for him, it was going well, but he was disqualified. I believe infringement, technical, probably skating in a classic race. But he hasn't had a whole lot of luck. But he says he's motivated.
Look at this. This is absolutely crazy, isn't it? 11 there. That is Holland, yeah, for Norway, followed by Sundby in there. Musgrave on the far side, ahead of Bolshunov. So he's close enough, if good enough. And now have a look at what's happening here, because you've got Turnseth on the left of your picture, Shirota on the right. Very little between the two of them. And Shirota is the man who's using just that little bit more energy, you sense, than Didrik Turnseth to stay on terms.
Turnseth is trailblazing, though. That snow is significant. 2 minutes maybe since the tracks were skied on. Slight gathering of snow there. Small factor. Well, Kruger, the Olympic champion and silver medalist, making the decisive move for the 3rd place.
Yeah, bib number 7 there. And then 23. That is the world champion, Niskanen, for Finland. Good to see the Finns having someone up there. Then Bolshunov in the yellow bib. 8, that's Dario Colonia, I think, just right behind him now. And, well, here we go, Mike. This is now the finish beckons. So less than 1,500 meters to go now for the front two. Didrik Turnseth of Norway from Trondheim, challenging, 3 years younger than Shirota, who is the local man from Lillehammer. And just watching this group, look at Fabiano coming through there, the Italian Francesco De Fabiani, right up there challenging for 3rd place. And you picked up extremely well how much progress he's made, and he is the fastest skier, he is the strongest finisher, even though these two have got the gap. But the man just about to take 3rd place in green, Fabiano, looks really good.
Muzzy down in 16th there. For me, the favour now is turned to Shirota, just going to the front. I thought that Turnseth could break him on the climb. He couldn't get rid of him, and now it's down to the final, 900 meters. Double pulling power. They both sprint very much about the same when it comes to freestyle. A couple of days ago, only a second between them.
Well, there's no doubt that the front two will be leaking time to the Italian. He's not got them in his sights yet, but the 25-year-old Italian from Gressoney moving strongly into 3rd place. Shirota just had a little wee look over his shoulder there to Didrik Turnseth. Now moving, but actually moving better now, Shirota, than we've seen in the last couple of kilometers, coming round that right-hand turn there, getting down into that aerodynamic tuck. But this is going to be a sprint finish.
You can see the value of not drafting, but the fact that it's brand new snow dropping there. Tunseth had to stand tall because he was going so fast in relation. They're both struggling with the way the wax is not working on the base of the ski. It's gripping.
And you can see Shirota there on that little drop down there, gained a metre or so now. Tunseth trying to close up as they come into the final 100 now. Norway versus Norway. Lillehammer versus Trondheim. At the moment, it's Lillehammer who's got the advantage over, and Shirota looking for his third World Cup success. Likewise, Tunseth. But this is the local man. Can he survive? Can he? The line comes. Tunseth coming. Tunseth skis ahead, and Tunseth from Trondheim denies Shirota, and Shirota just runs out of gas, sheerly exhausted. Tunseth times it to perfection, but to be fair to Shirota, he's just like somebody shot him 20 metres from the line. He just didn't have any more to give.
And you know, with that part of the track having not been skied on, it wasn't really an advantage to lead the last 500.
So now the race on for third place. And in fact, De Fabiani has dropped back. Bolshanov is amongst those challenging.
Halverson there into third, strong finisher. He's got a couple of metres, but I think they'll close that gap. He may still take it to the line.
Kalle Halvorsen, who lies in fourth place in the overall World Cup rankings. And Bolshanov there trying to move up as well.
Iversen there, amazingly, he's come back from that poor start, or he faded. He's coming back strong for third place.
Well, that is a brilliant recovery there. Bolshanov fighting it out for maybe fourth place, but that is Norway 1, Norway 2, Norway 3, and Iversen. Well, how on earth did he do that? Because he hid himself from us, and he hid himself from everybody else, because I don't think they saw him coming.
Do you know, his equipment didn't work, the wax wasn't working great. He survived in that pack, and he had a plan, a cunning plan that worked. How did he? I would imagine this will go down as one of his best ever races from very poor circumstances.
So a clean sweep for Norway, sweep for the spectators and the fans. Kalle Halvorsen the best for Sweden. Bolshanov for Russia, there and thereabouts all the way. Came up from 19th into 5th place. Andrei Larkov from Russia, his teammate, from 13th to 6th. Ivo Niskanen for Finland, the world champion, up from 23rd to 7th. Simon Kruger, who looked as if he was going to play a part, in 8th place, another Norwegian. Victor Thorn for Sweden. That's a good run by Victor from 12th up to 9th, holding his position. And then Dario Colonia to complete the top 10. Francesco De Fabiani made a lot of ground, but maybe showed his cards too early, ahead of Krista Holland, Klæbo in 4th place, and Andy Musgrave unofficially 15th place. For me, that's a very decent result.
Very much.
The top 15 separated by 67 seconds, but 3rd and 15th separated by only 5 seconds. Iversen to Musgrave. Well, Mike, quite a race. I reckon that Shirota must be feeling, well, he's gutted, isn't he, not to win this one.
I think so. He made that decisive move to come forward to set his stall out. But with the amount of snowfall, I think today he made a tactical error, especially the last 500. And Tunseth took all the advantage there, tucking in behind him, and then had a little more momentum to come round.
Well, yours was a very good point on that final descent there, where he was standing tall because he had the ski speed, and Shirota was trying to guts it out. But look at that. Bib number 1 beats, well, bib number 2 beats bib number 1 with bib number 3, who we thought was out of it completely, and came back. I'm just having a look at Iversen to see where on earth he was. He was 21st at 13.3 kilometers, and he was, I can't believe this, Mike, he was 12 seconds behind Simon Kruger at that point. He was 10 seconds behind Niskanen.
Quite amazing what he did there. Is his skis were not working well. That's why he dropped back. He looked like he had no energy left, although he was just waiting for the pack to catch up by 45 seconds. And he must have just thought, well, my only hope here to do something incredible is to live with the pace of the pack. And his skis were riding better hidden in the pack because they were pressing the new snow down.
So he was best of the rest.
incredible. I think this will be one of his, in his mind, one of the best outcomes in
Well, he's
in
a
his
great
races
sprinter,
so far.
he's a great finisher.
Yeah, very much. And Muzzy, I think Andrew Musgrave will be happy with that. I think he should be 107 behind. And as you said, just 5 seconds off third place.
Yeah, it was always going to be difficult in such a large pack. And just reflecting on Alex Harvey finishing in 16th place, just behind Muzzy. Clément Paris of France in 18th. Bachscheider, France in 19th. Chavotkin of Russia completing the top 20. And again, between Iversen in 3rd place and Chavotkin, 7 seconds. And Sundby, 24th, 8 seconds back from 3rd place.
He'll be disappointed in terms of points. My maths, where have they gone? It's Muzzy is only 4 seconds off 3rd place, not 5 seconds.
Yeah. So...
well, Sundby will be disappointed with that. Not often have we seen him down in 24th position.
And the snow intensifying. But Norway have got what they wanted. Maybe not each of them in their own way. Turnstedt certainly. And by 3 years younger than Schurota. This man, little by little, again, you know, he was 5th in the World Championships in Lahti. He was 2nd the early part of last season over a 15-kilometer classic race. So, again, this is a man to keep your eye on when this race distance and this discipline comes around. He's often overshadowed by other members of the team.
Yes, and I think today for Norwegian men's cross-country skiing, to see Turnstedt and Schurota 1st and 2nd, Iversen 3rd, because the last 5-6 years it's all been about Sundby, and last year and the end of the previous season, it was about the amazing Johannes Hosflot Klæbo. And Klæbo thought he might sprint a little better at the end there, but he finished equal time with Muzzy, but just behind him.
This will be significant for Turnstedt in terms of selection for Seefeld, even though we're, you know, we're just into December and the Nordic Ski World Championships are not until mid-February, but a victory at this point will still be significant for him in terms of team selection for the Worlds.
Confidence as well.
So there it is, a yellow card there for Iversen for incorrect discipline, not in this race as far as we know. And there you can see De Fabiani moving up, and confirmation there. Oh, little star there behind.
Well, that was the photo finish, and I thought that it was the other way around. They got the same time, but I thought Klæbo was behind Muzzy.
We'll take 15th.
15th.
It's one of those psychological things. It's a heck of a lot better than 16th. Being in the top 15 is something people talk about.
And I think Team Great Britain will be delighted. And Andrew Young was sprinting well. He did well yesterday, also 52nd position.
Well, there's Iversen, who shot out like a bullet early on, but then ran into problems which both of us seem to think was down to equipment. Now we have to perhaps question that. It was really his realization that he couldn't go and do what the front two were doing, who alternated the lead, worked together. Schurota probably had the harder journey all the way through, and Turnstedt was the man who looked the more comfortable and ultimately proved to be the better of the two Norwegians. And even up the climb, when Turnstedt looked as if he was going to make a decisive break, Schurota wouldn't let him get away, and it was only in the last 10-15 meters that Schurota, look at it, just ran out of gas. Jelly, nothing in the legs, and the lactate burning everywhere. And that's the difference. The adrenaline for Turnstedt, the pain for Schurota.
What a difference. And a cheeky little track change there from Turnstedt was decisive. He went to it was a faster journey to the end. Less snow compressed in that middle track. Busy 3 days for the World Cuppers here in Lillehammer, and of course Bayeristolen next weekend.
Yeah, it's a big journey that will take us to the end of the first period, then into the Tour de Ski, which gets plenty of attention here on Eurosport, all stages live. And there you have the Lillehammer triple standings. And you can see Didrik Tønseth there, 124.03.09. And that's just that narrow gap ahead of Shirota and Iversen. But we need confirmation of the overall picture.
I think, well, Lillehammer and Norway, all of Norway, will be happy with another 1-2-3. Sweden just tucking in there with Halfharsen in fourth position.
It'd be really nice to get a few words. Here we come, overall World Cup standings. Yes. And you can see that Iversen, with that dynamite finish by 7 points, has eclipsed. I wonder why these television directors are so reluctant to give us at least 10 seconds so you at home, like us, can enjoy the change of places. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. I do apologise. It's not our fault. We can't control it. But
and for the first time in his career, wearing yellow, Iversen.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. But Iversen has won the World Cup first place here as a result of his finish. And this is interesting. Look at him. This is when he was struggling.
And it is without doubt at that stage his skis, and within this race, so many of the athletes, their skis will have troubled them. We saw that with Bolshinov. Everybody, Muzzies would have given trouble at some point in these unusual conditions. With a 65, 70-meter rise from the low point of the course to the high point, that also makes a slight difference. The temperature a little different at 74 meters higher than it is in the stadium.
Well, hopefully we'll get some words from Didrik Tønseth. I always think on these occasions, Mike, it would be really nice if we didn't just speak to the winner, but had a word from the runner-up and also Iversen. Here's the winner.
Congratulations, Didrik. That was a very tough race under tough conditions. How did you handle it?
Oh, thank you. Oh, it was, as you say, it was hard to go out there. And the snow came at the end, but I think I did a brilliant idea to go with zero skis today. A lot of guys had blister under their skis, so I felt that I had like more stable skis than the others, so I knew when it was snowing as much as it did, I knew that I had better skis than the other ones.
You shared your lead with Sjur. Was a bit of a change there. How did you guys add up as a team up there?
Oh, we did a fantastic job on the stadium and the flat parts, and I did the work uphill to the top, so well, it was fun to beat him today. He beat me with 6 seconds yesterday, and now I got my revenge.
You got your revenge. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Doris Callan, the FIS attaché for media, with the questions there to a very happy Didrik Tønseth. And Mike, your observation, zero skis.
I'm amazed that yeah, a lot of athletes, if Tønseth could go on zero skis, why did the rest of his team not? It's very wet conditions. Yes, there was a prediction for a little bit of wet snow, but that is also wet. And what they allow you, they don't allow you to glide quite as fast, but they almost guarantee you better grip throughout the whole course. And that's what gave him strength, realizing that, well, those who had Klister, and many of them did, would really struggle today.
Well, there's the club of world-class Norwegian skiers mixing with their international rivals here, but they've had the better of them. And there is the individual race result. And again, I've got to apologise to all of you. We get 2 nanoseconds on the first page and something similar on the second page. If you can absorb that, you're better than us. That's really, really disappointing. We've got a couple of minutes to be with you for the presentations, hopefully, and wages time. Now, on this triple cross-country race, the winner daily prize money is 5,000. So Tønseth will be pretty happy about that. But the overall winner of the triple gets 22,500 Swiss francs. Good currency.
A decent 3 days' work, hard work for Iversen.
Iversen just loving it, isn't it? I mean, you know.
Well, see, the difference was Iversen was on Klister, on the stickier wax, and I assume that Shirota was also on the zero skis. And the zero skis, it's a little bit like just roughed up base of the ski. You need a bit of silicone on it, or it can also ice up. And it's only about 300 millimeters long, 30 centimeters long on the base of the ski, which gives you the grip. I don't think Iversen can yet believe the fact that he managed to pull that one out of the bag, to be absorbed by the group quickly, survive in the pack, and then still manage the third place.
So I presume, Mike, this is the presentation for the race of the day first. That normally is what happens.
Yeah.
Plenty of familiar faces around for sure, I think. And a lovely Sunday for Didrik Tønseth there, his third World Cup success. Another bit of glassware, a few flowers to come. Not a local victory, but a home victory on Norwegian snow, so that's always, again, a bit special.
Well, the Norwegians next weekend, the first of the relays, of course, 30-kilometer on Saturday, freestyle, followed by the relay on Sunday. It's going to be a tough job to pick a Norwegian quartet.
And, well, there's... If you need a sandwich after that, you've got the filling. And a decent cheese to boot. Other cheeses are available, but not in this arena. But it's not unusual for Norway to clean sweep. They've got such a strong reservoir of talent. Well, that's just about all we've got for you from the Birkebeiner Stadium, from myself, David Goldstrom, and of course Mike Dixon alongside me. Here, the moment that we wanted to see, and this is Iversen, who's got the Tour 22,500 Swiss francs as the champion of the Lillehammer Triple. From Mike and myself, thanks for your company. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye from Norway.